Namaste. I'm Vivek Govekar, and welcome to the Kundalini podcast. That was Zen, this is Tao. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about the dark side of the Kundalini process. So what does that mean? Am I a dark Jedi, a Darth Vader type? What does that mean? Well, Kundalini awakening is not all fun and games. There is a very dark side and very, very difficult things that you have to deal with before you get out of the phase that is known as the dark night of the soul. So I'd like to talk a little bit about that and as it happened to me. So as I've mentioned before, in 2006, about August and September, I awakened my Kundalini energy accidentally. And in the ensuing 3 months, that was like the most chaotic period in my life because I had no idea what was going on. What happens is you lose your grasp on reality because it is a well-constructed illusion that you're living, as you have probably gathered from the last few episodes that I've taped. You are living in an illusion. You're living in a world that is just programmed into you, and you have a very limited idea of the surrounding world. Not just because your society is programming you and you are being told only certain things, but the human nature, just a human being living in this society, your mind is not in an expanded state of consciousness unless you were born enlightened. Like very few people happen to have that phenomenon happen to them, but some people are born with an awakening, and these are your so-called saints and people that become gurus at a very young age. Unfortunately for me, I was just a normal person, and normal as in, I went to a job, I played golf, I hung out with friends. My life was about partying. That was all I did. I partied a lot and having fun, enjoying my life. Never ever gave much thought to spirituality besides as a social obligation. Just, do what is required of you. I grew up in a Hindu family, so go to temple, recite mantras, and the Gayatri mantra, which is a very important mantra in the Hindu tradition. I was doing it just automatically, just as a ritual. Besides that, my own views on spirituality were that I was agnostic because I was a scientist. I had been trained to see science, and obviously in the scientific community, it's very unlikely that you meet people that are devout spiritualists and have a quest for the spiritual. So most people were just agnostic and just did things because it was tradition, just like me. When the Kundalini awakening happened, it was, all this amazing knowledge, all these visions, everything that I was seeing. And yes, I started looking into that and reading those books, but still there is one part of you that has to be completely erased, and it takes a long time after an awakening. So you go around in a state of, hi. Okay, Daddy's taping something. It's okay. Okay. So I was in a state of, as you can see, we have a guest. Say hi. 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 I was in a state of confusion. There was absolutely nowhere to go for me to find out from any person. I was living in the United States, so it wasn't like I could go to an ashram and find out from a guru what was happening. Okay, go watch yoga. Daddy's doing something. So in my case, it took a little time. Thank you. Sorry about that. That's my daughter Tanvi, and she's Daddy's little helper when making these videos and makes cameo appearances. So anyways, when that process began, there was nowhere to go to find any help, and I was looking at visions of impossible things. Made me question my sanity, made me think that I was going crazy. And for a while you do go crazy, as that word is defined in normal terms, because you are not behaving like you're living in this reality. You can't even access this reality. So thankfully I had a wife who is a very supportive person, and she went through all of that with me and saw like, okay, this is something unnatural that he's going through. Luckily, because I live in the era of the internet and I have Google at my disposal, I could find out a lot about this process and what others have been going through. But even if you find out and intellectually you know about what's going on, that does not mean that you manage to cope with it. It's very difficult. In my case, I had to keep myself in the house, and obviously I couldn't go out and work, and that led to a lot of confusion. People thought, oh, why is he not working? Or some people thought I was just being lazy. Some friends that unfortunately I had to tell to stay away took it the wrong way. They thought I was being, oh, he's being arrogant, or why is he acting this way, and they didn't take it kindly. But this was an emergency crisis type situation. I had to do this. And if I said, hey, well, listen, I'm having a kundalini or this kind of a bizarre process, so could you please stay away? They're gonna laugh me off. They're gonna think that I'm just being insulting to them in a subtle way. But that's not the case. I wasn't trying to be rude to my friends. I still love them dearly. I just had to stay away from them and be isolated. So you become very isolated. You live in a different kind of reality for a little while. And if the process does not go smoothly in those first 2-3 years, as it was the case for me, it was 3 to 5 years. 5 years before I really stabilized to becoming normal and adjusting to outside reality as well as I can adjust to the process that's going on inside mentally. So yes, that is a big drawback of the process, and the conventional outside world is not set up for you to be living in it while you're going through this process. I had some episodes where I would go out and, go to a store like a bookstore or someplace, and there would be an angry outburst coming from me because in my mind I was reliving something dark and deep and projecting it out to those people. It's not their fault. They obviously thought I was a crazy person. And my apologies to everyone for that, but this is part of the process until you resolve everything. I think 90% of what happened was in the privacy of my house. And all of it was just me finding ways to calm myself down. Like I said before, I went to this website, Biology of Kundalini. Having my daughter, that was a very, 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 very good thing that happened to me. We had our daughter exactly at that time, like 2008 was when she was born. I was already undergoing the process for a couple of years. But having her was a soothing experience, and having me being at home, I became the stay-at-home dad, spouse that took care of the child. And by that time I had calmed enough to the point where I could take care of her, and her presence was a calming effect, and that helped me out immensely. So that was a good contrast to have, because I was facing a lot of pressure from family and friends, especially people who thought, well, you're at home, you don't have a career anymore, why aren't you doing anything? And to them it was a very good thing for me to see me with my daughter and see that process was going on. So it was somewhat of a change in your life that brings you some measure of relief while going through this process. So I was lucky to have that. So yes, the first 3 to 5 years, if you're not going through the process systematically in a school with a guru, it can be very, very harrowing. My advice, and this is why I'm making these videos, I'm gonna tell everything about my process so that others can be helped, and that others are going through this process, and it's not just you who is going through these kind of visions and bizarre changes in your personality. It is all for the good, all for better. You will become a better person at the end of the process. However, for a brief period, you will have to go through these things. Energy inside you is churning up these memories, and you are supposed to just witness them and discard them. You're not supposed to latch on to them. A practice of meditation, a practice of using the Tao or mantras, any religious tradition that you have come from, if you get closer to that and try to understand the deeper meaning in those books, in the scriptures, will be very helpful for you in your process. Find a way to see everything that is happening to you with detachment. It is not happening to me, it is happening to my body, and I'm just witnessing it. That's the best way to see it. All it's doing is, if you have, let's say, a statue, and it's got paint on it, it's got green paint on a statue, and that paint is being wiped off, and then the statue is going to be painted blue, for example. So that's kind of a metaphor for what's happening. Your outer appearance is being ripped apart. it seems traumatic at the beginning because you think that that is all there is, that is who you are. And for the mind and the self to adjust to that reality and the new person that is being formed, it takes a little while. So the sooner you find something to calm you down and practices that make you a better person and align you with spirituality, the faster you will adjust to this new process. Kundalini, especially a permanent awakening, is irreversible. You cannot put the genie back in the bottle and say, okay, well, go back down and become dormant again and leave me alone. No, ain't gonna happen. You have to live with the Kundalini awakening for the rest of your life, for as long as it takes for the energy to do its work, to make you the new person. And the more you resist, the worse it'll get. So surrender to the process, find ways, and take it as an opportunity to overhaul your entire personality, because all it is doing is making you your real self, what you are supposed to be to begin with. And it's going to bring out a lot of latent talents and make you better at whatever you were supposed to be better at. So in my case, music, photography, anything artistic, creative, writing, I became better at because I was supposed to. Those talents were being repressed by the outside reality and the career that I had chosen or been made to choose because of peer pressure and pressure from parents. You are miserable doing that, and your soul responds after a Kundalini awakening by taking all of that repression, discarding it violently because it doesn't want that mask, that persona that's been imposed on you, and it goes in its own way towards its own path. So the people who are imposing something on you, well-meaning people like parents, have to be told sometimes harshly that that's not what I'm going to be anymore. That's not who I am. And that process can be a little jarring. That process can be socially a little rocky. Your relationships become rocky and things change. But if you learn to assimilate the energy properly and you learn to see love, you learn to accept everything that is. Taoism helped me a lot because it taught me to see everything and accept everything. Even though you think it is bad for you, well, that may be the ego telling you this is bad, and that may be something necessary that the energy is trying to put inside you. So resisting it is just bad from the point of view of the ego that is being dissolved. So accepting everything that is happening, learning not to impose or trying to impose your will and saying, thy will be done, Lord. That's what I said. Thy will be done. Okay. Understanding that the higher power is working through you to make you something that you are supposed to be, and it is all good for you, and you're going step by step towards that direction. Initially, if you're a stubborn person and determined to do things your way, it may become a little difficult to assimilate all of that. Eventually, you start to understand and you start to see your inner bliss that is being uncovered and start to understand why you need to be this and not what you want it to be. So align yourself with the process. See it with a detached witnessing. Discover what you need to do, where the energy is guiding you. Start listening to your inner voice. That's very important. Your inner voice has been repressed in this outer world, which is fast-paced, trying to make you into some kind of a robot working in a corporate environment, or some kind of mundane job, telling you are only that, you're a drone, you can only work and do that. And that may be necessary to make a living. It's not that you shouldn't do that. Nothing wrong with hardworking jobs where you can make a decent living. But if that is making you miserable and the energy is leading you somewhere else, then that is not for you. So listen to your inner voice. Let the outside world and distractions go away. Stay isolated if you have to, and assimilate the energy and go in the direction that it is taking you. That is the best way to deal with the Kundalini process. You may deal with a lot of opposition, people telling you things which may not be the best for your interests, and the energy will tell you when that is the case. So in that case, in my case, I would be very shy about saying no to someone or standing up to people. And the energy just showed me that, no, you have to do what's best for you. You can't just go along with the herd. That is important. Whatever you were, not that the energy makes you a very calm guru, it may make you agitated for a little while, and that may be good for you. If you have been docile all your life and been bullied and kept down by people who said, no, you will be this, you just went along. That was my case. now you stand up to people and say, no, no, this is my life and I'm sorry, but you have to stay away. You're not my friend or you're not my well-wisher if this is where you're taking me. This is the path you're taking me on. In my case, it was people who just wanted me to party and be drunk and, go along with that path. And that stopped being part of my life right away like that. So whatever changes it brings about in you are to balance your outside reality with your inner self. If there's a big difference between those two things, it's going to bring you to an equilibrium. And you have to go along and allow that to happen. I hope that sheds some light on some of the darker aspects of the Kundalini process. Thank you for watching. This is Vivek Govekar saying goodbye. Namaste.